Welcome back to 2019 Honda Scouting Grounds. The draft is going to begin very, very soon, but I've got some new, I would argue better, analysts here to hang out with me and talk about the draft about to unfold. Alberto, to start with you, what stood out to you this weekend?
I really enjoyed seeing how the players performed on stage compared to the scrims. In the scrims, I was, oh, what's going on here? What are these guys doing? And now on stage, I realized, okay, there's real hope here. There's talent, so I'm really glad to see they performed.
I think for me, like, the obvious prospect has evolved, right? I've been following the mid laners all week long. As soon as I saw him play Monday, I was like, this guy mechanically absolutely has what it takes, but, like, does he have everything else in place? And I guess I hope that's something that these coaches have decided after talking to him.
Yeah, I think Evolved was really impressive, but for me, the player who actually showed up the biggest throughout this entire week was Fnatic. I actually think Fnatic played really well the entire week long, consistently performing well, and every time I was watching and listening to their comms, he had good comms. He actually seemed to have a lot of, positivity in the games, like a lot of the intangibles that you're looking for, and really was just a very well-rounded player.
And that was my #1 jungler as well, because he not only has a really relevant champion pool, he has that previous experience from Scouting Grounds before, and the fact that he came back is just a sign that this is a hungry player that clearly is receptive to feedback and implementing it as soon as he can.
Well, awesome. Sounds like we are ready to go, so let's hear from Commissioner Greeley.
The best part is my wife and kids are watching you boo me on Twitch, so thank you for that. Welcome to the 2019 Honda Scouting Ground Draft. Over the last few weeks, we've spent time looking back at all the players who have come through Scouting Grounds over the last 3 years. What we saw was that more than 70% of those players spent some time on a Challenger, Academy, or LCS roster. 5 of them have won Academy championships. 3 of them who played on this stage during Scouting Grounds have represented North America at Worlds. It's a great first step for us. But this year, we took 2 big steps for the future of the Honda Scouting Grounds. The first was our work with FACEIT in creating the Scouting Ground Circuit. Scouting Ground Circuit allowed players in North America for the very first time to qualify directly into Scouting Grounds without going through solo queue. FACEIT has been a great partner for us. We're looking forward to continuing to work with them on developing the Scouting Ground Circuit, as well as other ways that players can qualify directly into Scouting Grounds in the future. The second was our partnership with Honda, who is the presenting sponsor for Scouting Grounds. Honda's support for talent development in North America and the ability that they've given us to provide a best-in-class experience for players has been amazing. The trophies we gave out last year, the Little Dragons, they were really cool. But the MVP trophy that we're going to give out today resets the bar for player trophies being given out in North America. We've already taken our design team and set them loose with the idea that they need to create something that is just as memorable for the 2020 LCS Honda MVP Awards that we'll be giving out. We'll jump to the draft in just a second, but before that, I wanted to give a couple of quick thank yous. First, thank you to the LCS teams who continue to support Honda Scouting Grounds year over year, especially the coaches, analysts, general managers, and pro players who spent their week here with us working with pros and players. Thank you to all the players who are sitting on stage, who grinded through to make it into Scouting Grounds, who put their lives down for a week to come and spend that week with us in LA. We hope that you got something out of your time here with us. I wanted to thank all the amateur teams and leagues out there who have been providing a platform and space for our pros, for our amateur talent to develop over the last few years. We're looking forward to continuing to work with you more closely over the coming years. And thank you to our dedicated and passionate fans who watch Amateur, who watch Scouting Ground, who watch Academy. It's your interest in this that keeps it going. To start the draft, I'm going to mention a name on an LCS stage that we haven't talked about since 2014. I'm going to invite Greg Kim, who is the director of LCS for Evil Geniuses, to join me here on stage now. Good. Yeah. All right. With the first pick in the 2019 Honda Scouting Grounds Draft, Evil Geniuses has select Evolved. FlyQuest is now on the clock.
All right, so not a huge surprise,
No.
honestly. Pastry, you called it. For now, you get Best Analyst hat.
Yes.
I want to say Evil Genius's hat though. That was actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
I actually agree with you that like Fnatic was kind of close, but I mean he was one of the top prospects.
That's not what I
mean,
said. I said that.
That's a gracious winner's speech right there.
So to be fair,
Yeah.
before we even went on camera, I said he was going to be picked first
true,
and
that's
Fnatic was
true.
going to be picked second.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I do still think that Fnatic performed better at the event. Evolve, though, was a beast, and coming into it, there was a lot of hype around him. And I think this is a player that, regardless of if he performed best or not at this event, is pretty irrelevant because people were talking about him, analysts, coaches that I spoke to, and they're saying, this is the guy more than any of the 20 other players, or 19 other players, excuse me, who has the mechanical ability and talent to actually reach a higher level. You know, go through academy, make it to the LCS because he has that base level of talent that everything else they felt could be taught to him.
And it makes sense for Evil Geniuses when you already have Sven Skaren, the MVP jungler, on your team. If you were to try out, what were you looking at? What? If you were to try out, I'm like, am I wrong here? No, if you were to try out Evolved for the mid lane, right? Like this could be somebody that you would legitimately try, at least in your academy team, to potentially put into the LCS because of the base level he has.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't know who's on the EG roster yet. Maybe that was the look you were getting,
I was
right?
like-
Nothing's announced.
Yeah.
That is a rumor, but it is obviously a rumor that's out there, so there's nothing wrong with saying it. But yeah, I mean, EG obviously needs talent, right? They're rebuilding the roster, I think, pretty much from scratch. So
Contracts, I mean, can't even if you have talked to players, whatever, like you can't sign a contract until free agency's open. So you know, got to figure out what they're actually doing.
Yeah, so I do think it's a smart place to start, right? You know, to be able to have a mid laner, we know pretty much every team has to be built around it.
All right, we've got Riv standing by with an interview. Riv, take it away.
Hey everyone, Riv here, joined by Evolve. First pick for Evil Geniuses. First off, man, how does it feel?
It feels really nice, really good.
What are you going to be able to take from Scouting Grounds do you think will level up your play?
I learned a lot of like macro and micro stuff from the coaches here, but the big takeaway would definitely be like my communication.
Awesome, Evolve. Thank you so much for your time. Back to you guys.
Yeah, and that kind of lines up, right? Like this is a guy who, and I was talking with Zix at the beginning of the week, and I was asking, you know, who's your short list of players that you think are very good, that you think are ready to make a step? And what he said specifically about Evolved was how advanced he is for the stage in his career. As a very, very young player, he's like, yeah, the mechanics are good, he's obviously very, very strong, but like, he understands some of the like subsurface level macro concepts of like, well, this is why you push mid because you then go do these things. Like, he already knew this stuff that like we normally teach people at Scouting Grounds. So he's like, the base level is really high for someone who's never played Academy or anything else like that.
We just saw that in the set where he was split pushing so many times, understanding that you have the pressure, you can do this, and even if your team loses, you're in the right position to continue to claim objectives. And they got inhibitors just because he was in the right place at the right time.
I feel like he's shown enough diversity as well. Like, I know that he wanted to win, so he played, you know, LeBlanc and a colleague, maybe flashier picks. But, like, his most played champion this event was Ryze, compared to the hundreds of Katarina games he's played in solo queue. Like, clearly willing to play every champion he needed to play.
Well, FlyQuest is ready on stage, so Chris Greeley, take it away.
I'm joined on stage by Wild Turtle, representing FlyQuest. And with the second pick in the 2019 draft, FlyQuest has selected Fnatic.
Nice.
Just shake the man's hand. 100 Thieves is now on the clock.
Perfect. Couldn't have gone better.
That's a little bit too small. You missed the handshake. These are the things that you've got to learn before your LCS level.
Thankfully,
you know?
in-game mechanics, very good.
In-game on point. Handshake skills need some work.
You know what happens, okay?
That's how we do fist bumps. You can't
Yeah,
mess
yeah.
us up.
I mean, you can though. I've
you
seen
can.
like the ball and socket.
Yeah.
So then like the high five, the fist bump. Is it wait? Are we doing above or below? Is it straight on?
Just crossing.
Good. All right. So, in all seriousness, I think the coolest thing for me is like, he was the second pick overall in the Dragon Draft, like clearly a valued player, but Inori was so hyped coming into day one, and Fnatic's a jungler that gets drafted over him.
Yeah, and I think that's really impressive, right? And this speaks to how well he performed, and also how teachable he appeared to be, right? That he was actually implementing all the feedback very quickly from the coaches, that he was performing well game to game, that he had a diverse champion pool, that he was not negative in any way during the games, and these are things that are so important, right? It's more than just what you are seeing in the game. There are players who are going to add so much energy to a team, winning or losing, and I think this is a guy who did really strike that. Kind of note for me. When his team was doing well, when his team was doing poorly, he was always looking towards the next play, what you have to do on the map, what you have to do to win. Whether you're 10K up, 10K down, you need those kind of players to keep the energy up, I think, in comps.
I think you're spot on with the attitude that the players bring to the table, because a lot of the teams here are like, well, if the skill level is even, the only thing that's going to differentiate them is how does my team fit this guy in? How receptive are they going to be to what culture we want to impose on them? And the fact that you're not having a player that brings any negativity to an environment that is new, that is willing to be taught and learn whatever team drafts them, I think is a really big step forward for these guys, coming from a solo queue environment that is quite the opposite of that to now being, okay, this is a place to grow.
Yeah, he was clearly the loudest player in the room on Monday in the PC Bank. He's all I heard. So that kind of makes sense.
I really do like the Scouting Grounds format overall in terms of the match schedule, because it actually pretty closely resembles actual LCS team practice schedules, right? You're doing 2 best-of-3 blocks every day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Wednesday, Friday, something like that, and then goes into Saturday match day. It's like, well, you're with these guys the whole time with your coaching staff doing review after every single game that you play. To say, okay, here's what we're going to fix for the next game. Okay, back in the draft. Okay, play game 2. Okay, here's what we're going to fix for game 3. Go play game 3. Break for lunch. Okay, play game 4. Right? And it's like, and that's the work ethic, right? So we'll see how well that works out for them. But we have Chris Greeley ready again. Take it away.
Feels weird to stand next to Papa Smithy and not have him be the one talking. But in any case, 100 Thieves on the clock for their 3rd draft pick has selected Gorica in the draft. Get out of your picture. And Golden Guardians are now on the clock.
Much better hat game.
Yes. I think I'm surprised, though. Not only did Gorica, first of all, he lane swapped. He was not an AD this year, at least. So, at some point, he was a top laner. Back to AD, which I believe is his preferred role. But I didn't really hear anything about any of the bot laners, either in support or AD. People were like, Shady's okay. We've heard Cham's really good. I think Vex is good. But, slowly as the event went on and I talked to more people, you're like, hey, which AD is the best? And they're like, Gorica. I'm pretty sure he's the best. So, it went from no one being favored, really, to Gorica, I think, eventually becoming, the #1 AD for a lot of these teams.
I think the fact that he has just 1 year playing this role is what makes him such a valuable prospect. You don't really know where he could go from here, because he was playing a lane that was so different from AD before, playing top, that all of a sudden, oh, you're actually just mechanically very talented. What could happen if we put you together with a really serious coaching staff that can guide you to become a very talented player if you already have the mechanics?
I mean, that's something that Golden Glue was talking about earlier on the desk, right? It's not a swap you often see. He got to 900 LP plus Challenger his first year playing AD, which is a very mechanically intensive role. He plays all the meta marksmen. He plays really everything you could want him to. So I do think he set himself up, very well for success with the swap.
And so we're going to hear from him himself as we have Riv standing by with an interview.
What's up? Riv here with Gorica as he gets drafted by 100 Thieves from the Honda Scouting Grounds here in 2019. Gorica, I have to ask you, what have you been able to take away from this weekend playing with all the Scouting Grounds teams?
I think I learned a lot, especially from the coaches, and I really kind of was able to learn about how to properly kind of use feedback properly and apply it to my gameplay and just try to improve from that, because from who I am today to who I was from the start, I'm definitely a lot better, I think.
Did anything surprise you throughout this process?
Yeah, it was definitely a frustrating kind of process for me, because at first we were taking a lot of L's, and so I thought it'd be a kind of smoother from the start, but yeah, it was still fun. So.
Right on. Well, you have an awesome future ahead of you. Best of luck with that, Gorica. Thank you for joining me. Back to you.
I think a lesson that these players should remember is that scrim bucks are worthless. So it doesn't matter if you take the L's, man. It's okay.
Lose is improve.
It was interesting because I think Cloud was a team. I think they started actually 0-4 on the first.
It was not good.
It was a very bad start, and they turned it around. They won 2 or 3 matches straight. They lost in the day, but we have another draft ready, so let's go.
With the next pick, the fourth pick in the 2019 Honda Scouting Grounds Draft, Golden Guardians select Misty Stumpy. Evil Geniuses is now on the clock.
Cool pick. I like him.
Yeah.
He's a great player.
I think he was the best performing top laner at the event.
I drafted best performing, like.
Yeah, I mean, I think there can be arguments for PCL and for some of the other guys too who had some high highs, but the thing that really stood out the most to me is, so top lane is so different playing competitively than in solo queue, where you can be on such an island and it's different skills that are being tested. I think the most transferable thing is just how good is your laning phase, right? How mechanically proficient are you? How much can you push advantages? And he was the guy who consistently had the best laning phase throughout the entire event. The rest, I think, can be taught, but I think he really did prove himself throughout this event.
See, it's funny on that because I actually sat in with Infernal a lot listening to their coaches, and the most consistent thing I heard from a coach who I will not name is that, hey, Ian, you're really smart. Because he was trying to teach his team some very basic things, and I think because in part of his collegiate experience and he's been around for a while, he's also a player that's actually quite intelligent about the game as well. And given that he's already a good laner, he's clearly listening to what's happening. He's already pretty intelligent. I was surprised when he got drafted so highly on Tuesday, but I think now seeing him throughout the event and talking to people, okay, this is kind of makes sense.
And he's still in college, playing collegiate scrims, finishing school while participating here and still getting his solo queue games in. This guy's got so much on his plate, yet he still gets it done.
Yep, great player. We're gonna hear from him right now. Riv, take it away.
Hey, this is Riv. I'm joined by Misty Stumpy as he gets picked up by Golden Guardians in the Scouting Grounds draft. How do you feel about your play throughout the tournament? I'm so glad to actually see you back, man, and getting noticed here by the teams.
I think overall I played a little worse than I thought I would, but I think I played well enough that the teams noticed and that they also noticed I improved from last year, which was hopefully good enough.
And as I said before, you've been here, number 3 MVP last year for Scouting Grounds. How awesome an opportunity is this for you to get in the limelight and be able to show coaches and scouts what you have to offer?
Overall, I think it's a really good opportunity going pro, all the connections you make, all the time you can play in front of the coaches and they can give you feedback, and then you can implement that just for the next game even, and just being able to see that progression is really important for them overall to be able to go pro.
Misty, a lot of people have seen you working hard in collegiate, school, and LCS and keeping this high level of play. And they want to know, is Misty Stumpy going to be in LCS someday? Is that your goal?
It's definitely my goal, so.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on the pick. Best of luck in the future. Back to you.
Thanks very much, Riv. I do want to see him one day. I know. We talked about it at the beginning of the day. Top lane is definitely a role that's seen a growth in NA talent. I think Misty Stumpy's in line for that one. I think he can get there one day, so that'd be fun to see that growth.
He actually plays against one of the best other collegiate top laners as well. Unfortunately, Niles could not attend this event, but he's another player that potentially is on the horizon, and they could see play maybe in academy against each other. So there is definitely talent being bred in collegiate, which I think is finally starting to leak up into academy.
Well, we got another pick ready. Take it away.
We are absolutely speed running the draft today. I'm rejoined on stage by Greg Kim from Evil Geniuses, and with the 5th pick in the draft this year, Evil Geniuses has selected Tomo. And TSM is now on the clock.
All right, so that's 5 picks in, 2 bot laners grabbed up. The most contested role so far, I guess we could say.
And I think this is probably the most surprising pick thus far for me. This is someone who, although there was some talk about him maybe being one of the best, bot laners or the best bot laner coming in, again, it wasn't a super hyped role, but people obviously digging for some of that NA talent. And I think that he also did individually perform pretty well. He showed his ability to also play things like the Yasuo and some of the really kind of difficult mechanical champions. So, this is something that I think is pretty promising.
I also got Heimer banned against him and played it on the scout day too. So I do like that he has some range. I think I've even seen Syndra from him this week. In my head, I'm wow, he just played so well in Ezreal that they're picking him up. But I think this is a player that I didn't watch as much as maybe I should have this week. And it's impressive to me that he's managed to take a pretty high draft slot, all things considered.
Yeah. I mean, to get drafted at all, right? Only half the players even get drafted, and then, goes in the first half of that one. To your point about Heimerdinger, I'm going to pause that one because Riv is standing by with an interview.
Hey everybody, Riv here with Tomo as he gets picked up by Evil Geniuses as pick number 5. I gotta ask you, how do you feel you played throughout? There's some pretty good marksmen in the bot lane in Scouting Grounds.
Thank you. So yeah, at first I played pretty shaky up, I believe, but over the past week I've gained a lot of confidence and I showed up today, so I'm glad.
And how has it been working with all of these teams before? Have you been able to kind of have that professional review scenario after your games?
Oh yeah, so playing competitive is really intense and I actually really enjoy it a lot. It's my passion and yeah, I just love it.
Awesome. So what's the goal then? If that's a competitive passion, you want to see yourself on an LCS team someday, Tomo?
Yeah, of course. Give it 1 year, I'll make it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Congratulations. Best of luck on that journey, brother. Back to you.
Love the confidence.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is EG, right? EG bought this draft slot, right? So they're like, no, we want to grab a second player from Scouting Grounds. And Tomo's their choice. Because I know, like for some teams, like in their minds, the roster is done. And they actually, they're not looking for a new player because they already know they're 5 for LCS and they're 5 for Academy. And, they don't want to step on the other team's toes and like let those players get a shot. EG clearly wants some more slots. They wouldn't buy the slot otherwise. So this is a good shot for Tomo.
I'm curious to see who he looks up to. I have a feeling he looks up to Perks with the Syndra, Yasuo, and the Heimerdinger. But I think if you can just say, I'm going to beat Doublelift this year and kind of set the bar at it for
That's
LCS
a pretty
player.
high bar.
You know what?
He wins LCS every year, probs.
I got to stop you both.
Okay.
World Finals for Tomo in 2021. Chris Greeley, take it away.
I'm joined by Peter from TSM. With the 6th pick in the draft, TSM has selected SPX. CLG is now on the clock.
I take it back. That's the most surprising draft.
Yeah.
Wow. This is the first support to get drafted, right?
Yeah.
That's like not even close. I think like SPX in my head was on nobody's list for like supports. Like I've heard some stuff about Gweiss. Shady's kind of a known quantity, but maybe was good. Chime was really hyped. I think I've even heard Peter Zhang talk about how much he liked working with Chime. So for FPX, who didn't even have that good of a showing today, to have this good a week to get drafted like that, it's actually really impressive.
I think the most impressive part was actually how receptive he was to the feedback that the coaches, and I think that's what got him drafted here because the showing was not as impressive as, say, like I think Shady played a little bit better, but the fact that during the scrim days, he was able to absorb what the coaches were telling him and not get tilted by what the games were. I mean, there were some games that were 7-45 in 20 minutes, and he still kept it cool. Like, that is some mental fortitude.
And I've also got to say, people who are going to be pretty tight-lipped about who they think is really good
true.
if they're thinking about drafting it. Because while these coaches are working directly with the players, they're also working with competing coaches. Yep. So, some of the teams are coached by up to 6-7 staff from various teams, right? Split amongst 3 teams. And, they think the SPX is the best support.
Peter's not gonna
some misdirection. Like,
You are late.
that Chime guy is looking good.
All right. Well, we do have Riv spinning by with the interview, so take it away, please.
What's up? This is Rivington here with Sandpaper Axes. He gets picked up by TSM, the first support to get locked in from the Scouting Grounds draft, and you even look surprised yourself. How are you feeling, Sandpaper?
Oh, I'm definitely really happy to get picked up. My goal coming here was to get picked up by team, but playing on stage today, I definitely didn't play as well as I wanted to. So after the way I played, I wasn't expecting to get picked up, but so yeah, getting picked up was definitely a shock to me.
Well, you definitely showed something that the scouts recognize that they want on their team. How has it been playing with all these coaches and teams and players that you've seen online all the time?
Learning from the coaches, like I learned a lot. Like there's a lot of stuff I didn't realize that you could do in games, and so yeah, I just learned a lot. And some of the academy players that were here, they helped me specifically in lane for like lane matches and stuff. So yeah, I learned a lot.
So what do you think one of the most critical things you're going to be able to take away from Scouting Grounds is to prove that you can be that TSM support?
I don't know. Is that to practice hard and play well?
And that's the answer. That's what we're looking for here from Scouting Grounds. Thank you so much, Sandpaper X. Back to you.
Thanks very much, Riv. Yeah, we'll hope to see some growth from him throughout 2020, but we already have the next draft pick ready. Chris, take it away.
I'm joined by Matt on stage from CLG, and with the next pick in the draft, CLG has selected 5 Fire. Dignitas is now on the clock.
Okay, I guess like I expected 5-5 to get drafted at some point.
Yeah.
I am surprised it's this late. Maybe teams like wanted different roles. Like in my head, I'm trying to go through like maybe they didn't want another mid laner because Evolve's already taken. But I mean, 5-5 is good, and everyone knows he's good. It's just a matter of like, how moldable is he? I guess how hungry is he?
You have to respect how much LP he has, no matter what.
Yeah,
right?
true.
That's true.
1,200 LP, like. I don't care how you perform. The fact that you can grind away so hard and consistently climb and have a relevant matchup in solo queue, or a relevant champion pool for solo queue and competitive is really impressive. And even though he did not play these games out as cleanly as possible, I think his high highs were what made him attractive.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the Rise game today, right? That could arguably be the most dominant individual game that we had of the entire batch today, right? I think that Rise game was very, very impressive. He did have some incredibly high highs. People know he's a good mechanical player. You don't get to 1,200 plus LP in Challenger without having good mechanics as a mid laner.
And even beyond that, like, despite being so high ranked in solo queue, he qualified through the Faceit circuit. So he actually qualified by playing on a team, and the whole team did well. Now, sure, playing in the Challenger circuit does not seem as playing on the LCS, does not seem as playing in Academy. Of course, there's different standards there, but, right, like, he would have qualified both ways. And he qualified, through playing with the team, gave someone else solo queue slot. I think he is a good player. Again, very young, not a ton of experience, hopefully is moldable. Everything that I saw, his attitude is very good, so, would like to see more of him. Chris Greeley is ready, though, so let's hear the next draft pick.
It is my pleasure to welcome a Dignitas representative back to the LCS stage for the first time since 2017. I'm joined by Bakery from Dignitas, and with the 8th pick in the draft, they have selected Chime. Cloud9 is now on the clock.
I'm excited to see Chime here. Coming into the tournament, this was like the first name I was going to look at for support pick. Taken number 4 overall in the draft, high solo queue player, definitely a strong player overall. Didn't bring out a whole lot of Bard, but definitely a strong player. I kind of eventually took my nod to Shady as I thought maybe the more ready today support, but I mean, cool to see him picked up, and I hope we see him.
I think it's clear that the players, the teams really would prefer to take their chance with somebody that does not have that former experience. And I mean, it's cool for them that they get this opportunity.
I'm really interested to see, going into these last couple picks here, are we going to see, the Anoris, the Ziggs, the Shady, the guys who actually have that LCS and Academy experience, are we going to see any team saying, hey, we want some sort of veteran on our Academy squad, we want someone who can help to teach these players from inside the game and get picked up? Or is it just going to be, kind of taking the other point of view, which it really is, hey, I think I know their ceiling. I think I know what this player is because I've seen a lot of years of them. And in that case, if you're kind of in that camp, you go for the more unknown, right? You go for the player that you're not sure where their ceiling is because perhaps it's higher.
Definitely the thing I've heard most about Chime all week long, though, from pretty much anyone I talk to, was he's really willing to learn and very moldable. So yes, I think the talent is there, but he's clearly a player that's very receptive to feedback. And as far as supports go, if you can bring up a good support, there's been quite a lot of talented domestic supports in NA as well. I think Chime can really succeed.
Something I find really interesting as well is the teams that are really investing into Academy and investing into new talent are actually turning a profit on their Academy teams. Because the buyouts for these players that have come in young and have gotten good over the year or two, your team is profitable just from selling contracts out. And I know of actually a couple of teams who legit just profited off of Academy this year because their players got bought out, because they did such a good job of leveling them up. This is a great time to find that next player who no one knows about them, but you can turn them into a star in a year and a half, and suddenly this is a really great business opportunity. I have to stop you because
easier said than done.
It is easier than done. It is easier than done. But I love seeing it. If you're just the best do it, please give us the next draft.
Just make them Bjergsen. It's easy.
Doing our best to keep things moving here. I'm joined by Rainover on stage from Cloud9, and with the 9th pick in the draft, Cloud9 has selected Julian. And with the 10th and final pick in the draft, Team Liquid is now on the clock.
Julian's a great player. 3 mids drafted so far. Third in line, but I feel like a lot of the mids were all very, very high level. I think those 3 were all a fairly comparable skill. And cool to see him picked up. I like the guy.
Definitely learning as a player. It was cool to see him branch out, play lots of Kiana today. He's played more Yasuo than any other champion. It's funny that he's drafted on C9 because in my head he's kind of like a little baby Golden Glue. right? Like if Golden Glue is kind of leveling up, like as a player and maybe moving up into the LCS, I think Julian is a player that like with enough time can be very good because he's been consistently like top 5 challenger for so long, but I keep hearing the same criticism, and I'm hoping that as he grows as a player, he eventually abolishes that.
My criticism is now confused because Cloud9 has been the best organization in identifying the scouting grounds and academy talent. So clearly, this team would not take this draft pick if they did not see something in this player that they could level up. And not a lot of players were talking, or teams were talking about this guy. So maybe Cloud9 is onto something that we just don't know.
Maybe so. I mean, honestly, it would be fun to see. This is a guy I've seen, several times around. I've seen him, through various sort of lower tier circuits. He's been, a solid performer. I think he's, kind of still waiting to find that big breakout, and he hasn't had it yet. I'd love to see that happen to C9 because, as you're mentioning, they keep kind of churning out stars.
Well, I think one of the things that you have to credit, to kind of go back to the earlier conversation.
Yeah,
and I mean,
please.
You're talking about academy.
Just sign good academy.
Academy teams being profitable for nameless teams. Cloud9, obviously, right? is a team that everyone kind of looks to as this talent farm. And it's not just that they are finding good players, it's that they have a very talented coaching staff.
Yes.
Because one of the things you have to remember is that not every coach and not every coaching staff is going to have an absolute expert at every play style, at every role, right? And Cloud9 clearly is having a coaching staff and a system set up where they're able to actually teach these players and level them up at a rate that some of the other organizations have not yet been able to do. And I think that's something that can be really overlooked because there are players out there that, have the ability, have perhaps the mechanical talent or whatever, but if you don't get the proper coaching too and you don't have the full package, you won't develop into what you conceivably could be.
Let me tell you, I spoke almost no words to Rapid Star all week long, but I saw him constantly watching games. So I think Cloud9 have clearly done their research here. No one told me why they would want to take Julian, but the fact that Cloud9 sees something gives me hope for a player that is really ground out, like collegiate, amateur, kind of all the scouting grounds and circuits you can think of.
All right, well, we're ready to go for our 10th pick of the draft. Chris Greeley.
I'm joined by Yaltz from Team Liquid here on stage for the last and final pick of the 2019 Honda Scouting Ground Draft. And with that final pick, Team Liquid has selected Wolfie.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I like it.
AKA DeWolf's Claw.
Yep.
Former screen name there, but all 4 mids.
Yeah.
Got grabbed.
Here's a pointer for all the guys that are playing with former experience. If you do like Wolfie, change your name.
Yeah.
Change your name so people have a different view of how you like, who was that guy? Oh, I don't remember.
Fresh and young on the scene.
Yeah.
It's actually Julian's teammate currently too on Maryville in the collegiate circuit. So like, it's very like, it was funny in the draft because like no mids got taken until 5th, I think, Evolve, and then they all got taken in a row. And then of course Wolfie is like the guy that gets left last because only one team needs a mid laner and they have to pick everything else. But I am quite surprised to see this, like every single mid taken from this event.
If the meta shifts back to skill shots in the
Let me
mid
tell
lane,
you need a Vel'Koz player.
You need a Vel'Koz player. Yeah. Bring Nidalee back. He's back in there. Yeah. And honestly, like I think about holistically North American players, mid lane is like the most important role, like by far. I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
There's like 3 native mids I think playing right now, and Bjergsen's one of them. Yes. Like native. I mean, he counts as a local.
He's American-born and raised.
American-born and raised. That little colony known as Denmark. Yeah. No, but and so this is kind of what you're looking for, right? Like I've seen all those Reddit threads, like why can't you develop NA talent? It's like, well, sometimes it's been hard to find ready mid laners when you can grab people like. Bjergsen, for example, and everyone else. So, I would love to see like kind of that get balanced out, and the other mid laners kind of below the line kind of come up.
As a result of that too, both in Academy and LCS, mid is really top heavy in NA.
Yeah.
So like actually these teams being willing to be like, okay, we're going to at least try contest like leagues that are full of top half mid laners only, and if it's one of those things where I wonder if they're looking back and being like, if we had tried this earlier, maybe it would have worked. But it's nice to see now that at least there is some interest in developing the local NA mid talent.
Yeah, well, we've got an interview. Riv, please.
What's up? I'm Riv here, joined by Wolfie. As he gets picked up, Team Liquid's going to be the one. You're flowing into that composition. There were a lot left out there among those chairs. How does it feel to be picked up here and grab that hat? I know you're excited.
Oh, fantastic. This hat, high quality. I'm really excited to be picked up.
What were you able to learn throughout Scouting Grounds? I know a lot of people haven't had a chance to kind of talk with coaches and have that review session. Did that teach you anything about yourself and your gameplay?
Oh yeah, it's definitely showed me some weaknesses in my play. I usually rely on my teammates to shot call and communicate, and I think that I was lacking that. I've shown that I can improve that. So yeah.
And how's it feel to be able to play with all these people you see online and then take it to them on the Rift in kind of a competitive mode?
It's pretty exciting. I do get to play with like half the guys here on collegiate, but it's good to meet everyone else. It's really exciting to just talk to everyone here, have a good experience, you know. So.
Awesome. Wolfie, thank you so much for joining me. Congratulations. Best of luck on the journey with Liquid. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Riv. Great interviews in the day. 10 players got drafted. 9 of the teams rather, drafted these players up, and I'm excited to see, who does make the cut, right? As the negotiations go through, who does want which players, which ones let that lapse and they go to some other team. I think that's gonna be exciting to watch in the offseason.
And I really want to see who actually lands on the academy teams, first of all, because I don't know if the guys are going to be immediately ready for LCS, but I think all 10 players drafted could easily make it into the academy teams that the teams have.
Well, I mean, it was pretty impressive. The stat that Chris Greeley was really reading off at the top was that 70% of the Scouting Grounds players have played in some amount of Challenger Academy LCS, right? And I think that is kind of speaking to how well this has been kind of helping teams find talent. I don't think that we're going to have that high of a rate from this year personally, but I do think especially some of the top contenders could be right into Academy and have the potential to make it up to LCS.
Definitely would be cool. Now we do have Chris Greeley standing by to deliver the Honda MVP.
Welcome back. Your 2019 Honda Scouting Ground MVP is
Fnatic. All right, my good sir, this trophy is yours. I'm gonna go ahead and lift. Oh my God, I can't lift it. You need to help me. Take your trophy. Congratulations, man. Honda Scouting Grounds 2019 MVP. How does it feel to know you have been recognized by the scouts, the coaches, and all the people that it mattered that came out here and saw you as the MVP?
I think it feels for sure good because I think my time in the academy for sure has been fortunate, I think, to say the least. So it feels good to show that I still have stuff in me to show up, so.
And we got to talk a little bit because you did get into that draft, but I want to ask you, what critical things are you as the MVP still going to be able to take away from Scouting Grounds to make you, your team, as the most valuable player better in the long run?
For sure, I think it showed in the last game. I think we should have won that game if I didn't make the Baron call, so I'll take most blame for me because I think it really cost us the game.
Awesome. And do you have any shout outs? I'm going to give you the floor. The MVP means everybody was looking at you, so any thank yous, any awesome things going out to the crowd, to family, to friends, to your team?
Thanks to my family especially. They've supported me this whole time. So I think I also want to thank my team. They've for sure helped me show my strengths. They all played incredibly well. So I want to give a shout out to them.
All right, one more round of applause for your 2019 Scouting Grounds Honda MVP Fnatic. Congratulations, that's yours. You can go wherever you want with that. Drink something out of it if you can. We're gonna throw it back to the desk to go over more of the day.
Drink from the wing.
Yeah, I'm gonna say best Fnatic of the year. Of all the Fanatics, I think this is the one that stands out to me. World's top 8, who cares about beating RNG?
That was right.
Yeah.
I think it was right. Like you said, it was best looking player here. I think the MVP kind of confirms that.
Well, and I think it's a very meaningful award for these players because it is voted upon by the coaching staffs, by the scouts that were here watching, right? And this is a guy who, that proves that you are, a talent to be looked at. Like you said, I believe he was playing for TSM Academy.
Yes.
That didn't go as well for him. And it can happen that a player, has one kind of bad stint with a team and then everyone says, well, it didn't work, right? Let's not bother. But, coming here, showing his stuff, I think, is a very important next step to be able to get back onto that academy level and prove what he can do in perhaps an environment that better suits him.
And he's a young player too, 18 years old. There's a bright future for this guy now. If you're already at this level and with the high amount of communication that he delivers, that's an area where typically young players do not have, and he just smoked the competition.
I think it's telling that both Evolved and Fnatic have been delivered. They're hey, they're young and talented, but they're actually really communicative and kind of ahead of the curve for these solo queue players. And to me, that's the biggest takeaway. I think Evolve could have maybe been the MVP, but watching and hearing Fnatic, especially throughout the week, it doesn't surprise me, as you suggested. So I think absolutely well-deserved and very excited to see where these players land in the future.
Yeah, those are the two huge names for me. Definitely played really well. Excited to see what their futures lie. Kind of what's in store for them, but I think a lot of good players here. Now, the LCS will return in 2020, but it is here for All-Star 2019, live from Las Vegas.
I feel like that's coming back.
It's going to be exciting. It's coming soon. It's in 3 weeks.
Yeah. Vegas is going to be hype. All-Stars was a lot of fun last year there. A lot of the players really have a good time, and I think it shows in the event.
Yep. I want to see Pabu back in the 1v1 finals.
I want to do another triple play.
I'm just gonna like chill out, vote for Pabu. He's my boy.
What about Doomby? You seeing those dance moves?
Okay. Also vote for Doink.
He's like a guarantee.
But for some reason, I think he might make it.
Yeah.
So.
It was so genius to dance, so now you can use all of his dances for his dance animations.
Exactly.
Of
That's the
dance
recall.
chants.
The recall. Yeah. Oh my
for that
God.
Nautilus skin that he's
I will
getting,
insta-buy any skin if it has that recall.
Absolutely. Of course, thank you to all of our guests, including Peter and Golden Glue, for joining us today. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in Vegas for All-Star 2019. Good night.
Nice.
Let's shake the man's hand. And TS.